What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some information about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a game that was relatively recently announced back in the June reveal shows, I forget exactly which one, and is itself releasing sometime in 2025. But obviously, we have a new gameplay reveal and everything, and it's the first one of its nature, and I wanted to take a look at it because I was very interested by the visuals of this one when it was initially announced. So if you have no idea what this game is at all, genre-wise expect something like a JRPG, but obviously much more modern, especially in comparison to even things like modernized JRPGs with a more retro feel. This one seems to be aiming for big and bold, which is certainly not unwelcome. Now, specific to this game, story-wise, this takes place in a sort of surreal world where some sort of entity known as the Paintress awakens every year to paint a number upon what they call the monolith. When she does this, every single person of that age sort of turns to smoke and simply disappears, seemingly erased. And with every year, that number continually ticks down. Naturally, you would like to stop it, and that's where the expeditions come in. People have been, of course, trying to do their best to stop this, and now it's our turn to do that as the members of Expedition 33. So let's talk a little bit about the gameplay specifically. Now, the first thing they wanted to highlight was the environmental storytelling, starting with the characters we have, discovering the remains of Expedition 68 and what happened to them. Now, that's important because apparently along the way, during our journey, we'll be able to find the remnants of previous expeditions and things they've set up for us, which interacts with some of how you're going to be traversing the land, including like grappling hooks and climbing spots, etc. that were set up by the previous teams. Now, when it comes to that exploration specifically, you'll be able to apparently control any member of your party as the lead character, which involves freely customizing their appearance and hairstyles, outfits, that kind of thing. But probably, I would say much more importantly, we're going to be stumbling across progression-related things, like, say, solving little environmental puzzles that they're calling paint cages, and also come across rewards known as pictos. Pictos are effectively your gear in this one. It would seem you equip these like accessories, and each of them has stats and an ability of some sort associated with it. So you'll get those stats and that ability. While you're wearing it, you apparently have the ability to permanently unlock the ability, which allows you to mix and match and, of course, progress. There's also a level-based system to all of your characters, so surely there's some stats in the background working there, but that seems to be the gist of it from what they've shown here. Now, while not really shown, they did mention having a pretty diverse range of builds and being able to customize your party to suit a preferred playstyle, which is obviously where combat comes in. So combat here is what they're referring to as reactive turn-based, but effectively turn-based with timings and inputs that you have to engage with in order to maximize your effectiveness. So essentially there is a turn order, and during your attack, when you pick your skills or abilities or whatever, there will often be prompts associated with that you can, of course, press and interact with to deal more damage or put off extra abilities, though they did mention that it is actually possible to fail these, and some skills and abilities may even backfire when you do that. And they also mentioned that during your turn, these skills and abilities work off of action points, which will build up over time. 1 per turn by default, and then apparently there will be other ways to earn more, such as customizing your build to get them from, say, dodges or parries and things like that. So when the enemy is attacking, you have a chance to defend yourself via dodges and parries. Dodging just lets you avoid the attack entirely, but if you successfully parry something, you can then counter-attack as well, which they show off in both regular combat and an actual boss fight. So while it is a pretty standard turn-based JRPG system, even that timing system is something I've definitely seen in other games previously. It does seem even there they're trying to put a slightly more action-oriented spin on it, without necessarily requiring on the, I would say, more skill-oriented basis of an actual action-oriented system. So it remains to be seen how fine of a line that winds up being drawn, but I'm looking forward to it because it looks pretty interesting. Now, they wrapped up this little showcase with a look at a boss fight in particular, and while the fight was relatively early on and therefore I would say somewhat simple, they used it to highlight certain mechanics you might expect. So this boss in particular summons up a bunch of like flowers and things that if left unchecked will be able to buff the boss and just let him devastate your party. But if you use what they refer to as the game's free aim system to specifically target these flowers, you can take them out before the boss gets a chance to do that. So relatively simple early game boss mechanic, and kind of gives you a gist at what we're looking at here, though I am a little interested in what they mean by that free aim system specifically, because while not directly stated, they seem to somewhat imply that some of these mechanics might be a little secret, or maybe something that relies a little more on, say, intuition than something that is deliberately telegraphed for you, which I thought was an interesting premise if it winds up being the case, of course, as I mentioned, was not directly stated. So to put all of that together from this initial gameplay reveal of this, I am definitely pretty interested. So for starters, I just love the look of the art here. I think this sort of surrealist environment they're going for, on top of just the visuals of the characters and the attacks and stuff, just look really fascinating. And I want to see if some of the things they're trying to do actually manage to pan out and make for an interesting game. And I try to review the odd jrpg every once in a while, but I think that's pretty much going to do it for today, so I certainly hope you enjoyed this video and this look at the game and my thoughts on it. But I would love to hear what you have to say about it, which naturally means to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. Certainly stick around if you're looking for more information about this one, as I will be reviewing it when it releases. But that will do it for today. So truly, thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.